What's up, guys? Craig here, Fergie, JKU, Fergie time. This is episode 3. I made it through 3 of these. Today, we have an exciting guest, JD Marshall. He goes out and writes all the maps. It gives you tips, tells you what to avoid for trailsoffroad.com. And then he also, the other reason he's on and talk more about his podcast, he runs a show called the Trailhead Podcast, and it's a great show. I was on it once, and I'm looking forward to being on it again. And so he's going to come in here looking all spiffy and definitely better than my setup here. So give it a listen, like, subscribe, all that great stuff. Thanks a lot. Craig here, Fergie time. Today I have got JD Marshall with us today, and we're just gonna chat about all things. He does a really cool podcast called The Trailhead. You definitely should check that out. I will throw links in for that. And actually, the first time I even saw him was I was doing a search for Hackett Gulch, I think, because it was the first time I was going to go there, and I saw a video, and it was actually your video, so that's freaking cool. How are you?
Intricately involved with Hackett Gulch on a regular basis. Yeah, it's about to be Hackett Gulch season 2. Yep.
You're up in Monument. You're not too far from me,
dude. I'm really afraid of like how far we are. Like I'm near the Air Force Academy, so we're probably a lot closer than I think we are.
I guess what initially drew you to off-roading and exploring trails?
So it's funny. I actually had another interview with somebody else on the Snail Trail podcast, and he got me thinking about it, and we were talking about I did Boy Scouts when I was a kid, and I have a feeling that's did you really? See,
yeah.
See, there's two. I think I got two factors. I think it's Boy Scouts and Legos. And Boy Scouts is the outdoors, and Legos is the love of Jeeps. I grew up in Illinois, though, and if anybody who's from the Midwest knows, there's not a whole lot of wheeling out that way. There's some more off-road parks these days, but there's not a ton of wheeling. There's some more now in Michigan. It's getting better. I had a Jeep as early as 21, but then I just kind of drove that around Illinois for 20 years and 15 years. It didn't really get a whole lot of actual action other than a couple of DNR roads in Michigan. And then when we moved to Colorado, I found out that there were just trails right here. We lived in Castle Rock at the time, and like there's a trail called Dakin Road. It's right here. Like we can go out in the mountains and go get lost. And we did. And I took my stock TJ up Argentine Pass. I took it all the way to the top. That was a terrible idea. It was a terrible idea. Don't take your stock Jeep with it's 31-inch street tires, to the top of Argentine Pass with no top and no doors. I haven't. There's really nothing that Daredevil-esque about Argentine. It is just a couple of switchbacks to the top of a mountain. Okay. So, but yeah, come on up with me. I want to do a couple of group runs to that one this year.
So you came out from Illinois, you came to Colorado, and then you just started hitting these trails with your Jeep, and
yeah, and it was all good until we got up to Mount Herman Road here in May-ish, and I was unaware of how to deal with Colorado snow, and I got the TJ buried up to the frame in snow. Again, still stock tires. Still hadn't done anything to it. Somebody came along and they pulled us out, and then they tried to pull us back to dry land, so to speak. And in the process of doing that, they threw me into a tree and I popped my radiator open. Yeah. So that started
Colorado.
Oh yeah. Like I'll be forever grateful for them coming in and getting us out, but they could have, there's a lot safer ways than what they did and tried and pulling me, just 25 miles an hour freewheeling it behind them. It wasn't fun. That kicked off a bunch of upgrades. I did a lot of stuff on my TJ, but it was an old platform. I had a black Liberty that my mother had given me when she passed away, and it got totaled on 25 because Colorado drivers. I turned that around and I got the yellow Jeep. It had been sitting on the lot for a year and a half, and I'm like, that's a Rubicon for what they were telling me they wanted it for. I'm like, I'll take it. Like, I don't care. It's yellow. I like bright colors. That's how I ended up with it. Pure accident.
So, like I said, the first time I saw who you were was on Trail Off-Road, the website. But your video is actually the first one I saw for Hackett. And I think I saw some other videos you did as well. But how did you get into that?
Just before I got the yellow Jeep, actually, I had we'd gone out one day looking for, I wanted to get to Hackett. I had not been shown how to get there or shown where it was. And I was going off of another well-known site here in Colorado, but they had sent me to Corral Creek. And as many people will know from, if you see my face this summer, you'll see it attached to a post that says Hackett is closed at the county line. And Corral Creek sits on the part of the county that is closed. So that entire trail is closed. And that's the trail that connects Longwater and Hackett. It's been closed for a long time. You still see people use it today because they're not supposed to be. I took Goose Creek, which is also known as Matucat Road. It's just kind of a Forest Service road, right? Easy one to get through. But we drove all the way to Deckers, and then we drove through to the entrance to Corral Creek to find out it had been gated for a decade, even though that website still showed it was open. We drove all the way to Lake George, so basically completed Goose Creek, and then came back up to Cedar Mountain Road, and then went to Hackett that day. And I didn't even finish it because by that time we're out of time. It was a waste of my day. I was so angry. I got home. I started looking for another website. And at some point in this time frame, a new website had popped up, trailsoffroad.com, and they were looking for writers. I got a hold of Todd, and Todd interviewed me, and we were talking about it, and let me know it wasn't quite a crowdsourcing situation. He was looking for a dedicated group of writers that were going to kind of, go around and not just write about these trails, but then turn around and keep them updated. Make sure that they were updated on a yearly basis or by every couple of years, whatever that trail called for. The rest is history. I still write new trails, although I've saturated a lot of the Front Range here. If you go on Trails Off Road, there's a good chance you're going to run into my Jeep someplace. And at this point, it's a lot of maintenance for me. I'll be going out and doing some maintenance this year, but a lot of that was completed for me last year. So when you're going into the trails this season, I think all of our guys' stuff has been updated within the last year, some 3,000 plus trail guides. I've written 150 trail guides, 300 total guides plus scout routes, which are just kind of shortened versions of those guides. It's just a lot of fun. Video was Argentine Pass all the way to the top, and it had something like 13,000 views before we finally hit it because we put up some much better video. But it was all dash cam all the way to the top. But it told us that's what people were trying to get, was just information on what they were getting themselves into.
That's why I looked. I wanted to see, can I do this? And yeah.
We do a good job as a group. We kind of go through ratings training, and we have specific guidelines about how we define our ratings. So, a ledge of this size or a water crossing of this size constitutes this rating, and all of those things fall in there. So a 4 that you run into in Colorado should be a 4 that you run into on Drummond Island. It should be the same in both places. It shouldn't be a difference for you. And that was kind of the purpose of it, because we didn't want that bias to creep in, that bias of you got a bigger Jeep, it was easier for you, or you've got a smaller Jeep, so it was harder for you. So by kind of giving some measurements to those things, it's really easy to, okay, that's a 4, that's a 3.
So when you go out, you mentioned you got a GoPro, and I think you also use a drone, because I see a lot of your videos, it's you're driving and it's showing you driving. Do you stop a lot with a drone and
So I don't. I actually use. So there's two things. I am a Part 107 certified pilot, and you have to be in order to work for Trails Off Road these days. It was just if you make money from your drone video, you're supposed to be a certified pilot, technically.
Yeah.
So. To that end, one of the things that they recently had to come up with was rules about driving solo and droning, and whether or not you could do that and where you could do that. And you can do that in the areas that we usually wheel at. Those are kind of remote areas that are away from the public. However, I have a drone called the Skydio. They actually, unfortunately, they don't make it anymore. You might be able to still find some on eBay, and every once in a while one pops up in one of the Skydio groups I'm a part of. They went full military and commercial, essentially. So there's no more. They basically just don't have a public sector anymore that they sell to. And the drone is a regular size drone, same size as your DJI. It's just a regular size drone, fixed wing, so it doesn't fold like the DJI. And it came out with 360 degree cameras on it before any mention of that kind of stuff from DJI. And they decided they wanted to build a fully autonomous drone. It just flies itself, right? You put it up, you tell it, this is what I want you to follow, and then I'm going to go, and then you just follow me. And that's what it does.
What another thing besides obviously the trails and mapping out the trails and doing the trails off-road, you're really big, and you kind of scolded me one time about trail etiquette and preserving trees, and I don't know, talk about how you balance like going out, having a thrill, but also, being responsible, preserving environment.
And I don't know, I feel bad now if I feel like I shamed you in some way, shape, or form. Do you know what was it about?
I posted a picture, and I want to say it was rainbow. I don't know, but my wife took this awesome photo of me coming down through mud, and it was the picture was so good. It was so good, and you were like,
I know, and I shit all over it. This is a great
picture. I know. Blah blah.
I feel bad, and
you educated me. I take that, and it's like, oh really?
Yeah, as long as I hope I wasn't an ass about it. Yeah, that's all. I just hope that was okay. No. Yeah, I mean that's one of the things that you did. I didn't know. I did the same thing that you did, right? Like I tore ass through mud puddles when I first moved here. That same road, Matucat has a little road called Stony Pass Road that connects up north, and there's some mud puddles that form there every spring, and I didn't know, and I was tearing through them, and now I know. And real quick, if you're listening and you want to know, in Colorado, we don't get enough rain. So if you splash mud onto trees, it just kills the vegetation, and then the trails get wider and they close them. Look, we're taking a full-size vehicle into a natural environment. So there's going to be some damage just by the nature of putting tires on dirt. And I think the goal is just to kind of minimize it at least a little bit, kind of protect those trails. Like I know you've experienced it where you go out and a trail that was, relatively, maybe it was moderate in the last couple of years. All of a sudden this spring, because we had such a heavy rain, all of a sudden you find, oh my God, that's so dug out now. I can't get up that with my Jeep because everybody has just tore it up. There was no mud closure there. There wasn't this, there wasn't that. So yeah.
How did this turn into the Trailhead podcast?
So when we bought this house, I built this house with this office with the intention of like, hey, I'd love to start a show someday or a podcast sometime. And life gets in the way, and you end up just doing other stuff. And I found myself for like 6 months without my Jeep. And after July, August, September, I think after the third month, I'm like, you know what? I got time on my hands. Like I may as well just like do something with it. And so I'm like, let's get started on this. That plus the rise of some of the things like ChatGPT and stuff like that makes it a little bit easier to do show prep and stuff like that. So you might know this. I loved, and I still listen to it, the Bob and Tom Show. It's a radio show based out of the Midwest, Indiana specifically, and they're nationwide now. They're syndicated, but I used to get bootleg tapes from Indiana into Illinois, and I just loved it. It was a morning zoo kind of a thing, but it wasn't like Howard Stern, shock jock kind of stuff. It was just funny bits, people being stupid, picking on people for quirks and silly stuff like that. So I've grown up with that. I've listened to that show but I like that style of radio. I like the idea of bringing together people with different backgrounds and different perspectives, and then kind of just throwing them all into a room together and then kind of seeing, give them some stuff to talk about and then kind of see what happens. That is what we do on our live shows. Our live shows are currently on Mondays, and we do those on the purpose of those shows is just kind of get caught up with the hosts, find out what everybody's doing. We'll kind of go over anything in that, news related, and we'll usually pick a topic to kind of discuss and go around the table with. That has proven to be a little bit better, just to bring the host in for the live show. Doing shows like this where we're talking one-on-one, it proved to be a little crazy doing that live. and doing it in this kind of a format. You get your guests sitting around for 45 minutes while you all catch up about, whatever upgrade you did this week and kind of silly stuff. Like, they don't need to know that. Like, or a couple people on one, and then it's a much more subdued environment, and it makes for a nicer interview show. It lasts for about 45 minutes. Our live shows can be a little bit long, but we figure people are gonna be listening to it on the trail. You're gonna be listening to it on your way to and from work. So one of the first guests that I had on was this guy. His name is Tim, and he's the guy who runs what is called the Philippine Expedition Overland, and this was the second year that they were running it, and it's basically an off-road competition in the Philippines. And I'm like, I saw his stuff on Instagram one day. I'm like, this looks gnarly. Like, I can't even imagine off-roading in the jungle with a Toyota Hilux with like what looks like 35-inch tires. And so I reached out to him, and I got a hold of him, and I went to their website, and I found a way to get a hold of them, and they're like, yeah, we'll come on the show. So sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you reach out to people and they don't want to do anything with you. The second one is it comes up in conversation. That's another part of having kind of that group dynamic of having different people, bring their questions to the table. I have a dog. He's over here sleeping in protest, but I don't always think about every little thing about it. And when Pope and Randy had that one rollover, we got to talking about their dog's reaction, and their dog like jumped out of the Jeep, and luckily the dog was fine and everything was good, but they were terrified at the moment. Like
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and Pope's first reaction, like if you go back and watch, I don't know if they posted it, but the raw video shows his first question out of his mouth is, "Where's Dottie? Is Dottie okay?" Hades is with me on a regular. He's with me all the time. Like 90% of the time, he's with me on the trail. I know you got 3 dogs.
Duke is with me, so
yeah. So that was like on episode 5 or 6 or 7 when that happened. Like that was real early in the show. It got us talking about bringing somebody on about pet safety, and like somebody that knows about taking care of pets in some way, shape, or form, because we don't know our asses from a hole in the ground, let alone how to take care of a dog on the trail. So that took me almost 2 months, but I found somebody. She's a pet safety expert, and that's kind of the thing where you just kind of go, you poke around, you send a couple emails, and somebody's like, yeah, I'm not available, but check out this person. She's available. She's a pet safety person. She's got a couple of hit books and kinds of stuff like that. So
what are you hoping people take away from your show?
Honestly, when the best comments and the reviews that I've gotten so far are from people that have taken something away. Review. When people leave reviews, the thing that always hits me the most is when people say that they either learned something or they picked up something that they hadn't known before in some way, shape, or form, or a tip or a piece of advice. Those are the number one reasons, right? Like the number one thing I want to do with this show is educate people in a way I wasn't educated when I first got started doing this. There's so much that I feel like a show like this could have told me, and there are some other shows and there are some other podcasts out there, but I don't really feel like they spend enough time kind of hammering down those basics. And then outside of that, like, I just want people to have a good time. Like, I think we have a good time when we have the live shows. Like, that's a chance for us to kind of kick back and BS and maybe be a little bit lighthearted about somebody having to roll over. If you go to our website, which shameless plug is thetrailheadnetwork.com, and click on Be Our Guest, fill out the form, and I will reach out to you. I've already had 2 guests that way where they just kind of cold reached out to me, and they're like, I have a cool story to tell. And I'm like, well, then let's go tell it.
All right. This is the fun part of the show. Well, it's all been fun, but I got some questions for you, some rapid fire questions. And
all right.
Just say, first thing comes to your mind. First one, do you own your own Netflix account or do you use somebody else's?
I don't pay for Netflix anymore, but I do pay for
streaming service.
My streaming services that I do pay for, I don't share with anybody else. Oh, no, I take that back. I do share.
What was your last impulse buy?
The computer I'm currently streaming on. And it's kind of an impulse buy. It's also not. But I realized the other day that because I've been having a lot of issues streaming live, and I realized my computer is ancient and I needed to get a new one. So,
which celebrity annoys you the most?
Yeah, no, I there's somebody, and I know I'm gonna go upstairs. I'm gonna ask my wife, and she's gonna tell me, and I'm gonna hit myself for not being able to answer the question real fast.
Favorite type of music?
Rock. I'll get heat for this too, but I'm a huge Nickelback fan.
Go-to lazy dinner?
Just pasta and meatballs, or pasta and meat sauce, right back to when I was single, like either that or just pizza.
If you could be transformed into one animal, what would it be?
Based on how I treat my dog, a dog. I mean, this guy's royalty, so like he gets everything. Like every single thing that this dog wants, needs. Like he has anxiety, and I have no idea why he has anxiety. Like,
do you kill bugs you find inside or take them outside?
Depends on where I'm at in the house, because I'm lazy. It also depends on, if it's just a common spider, probably not. If it's something kind of weird looking, I might, but I honestly don't. Like, I don't care.
Street smarts or book smarts?
Street smarts, 100%, all day, every day.
If your life had a theme song, what song would it be?
Well, I guess that would just be for my 20s, and that was Porn Star Dancing, which was My Darkest Days, which is Nickelback adjacent.
Well, cool, man. Well,
awesome,
I definitely appreciate you hanging out with me, and it was fun. And
well, thanks for having me, man. Like, good luck with this. Like, this is how you get started, man. You just get these, doing a couple of these, and you get them under your belt, and then the next thing you know, you got 30 plus episodes. So,
all right, guys, thanks. Thanks for watching. JD was great, gave a lot of good insights. I'll throw links, all that kind of thing into the description. Like, subscribe. Oh, we are on Spotify now, so you can actually subscribe on Spotify, which is pretty awesome. So anyway, episode 3 in the books. If you want to be on the show, you know someone who might want to be on the show, give me a shout, and I look forward to talking with you guys more. Thanks, guys.